Okay, so let's revisit really quick those couple things that I want us to keep in mind as we go forward, especially for this first section. It's very important. So, we are created for happiness, for flourishing, and for beatitude. Beatitude, very simply put, is divine life. We are created to be saints. That's what beatitude is. The blessed are in heaven. That's what's important about that. We are given that end to our life through baptism. So it only virtually exists in the non-baptized. It actually exists in the baptized. Does that make sense? Virtually because the non-baptized person has the possibility of being baptized. So that end of beatitude virtually exists in them. It hasn't been actualized yet through baptism. So they're disposed to be baptized. So therefore they're disposed to have that supernatural end of beatitude. But all of us have the natural end. All of us have the natural end of happiness. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Quickly, what does that mean for those who aren't baptized?
That means there's no guarantee of their salvation.
All right.
What about baptism of the Spirit?
There's no guarantee of their salvation.
But that doesn't mean they're specifically excluded automatically.
Yeah, that's right. But so let me do the quick basic doctrine of baptism. Is that the doctrine of salvation. The doctrine of salvation begins with the dogma of extra ecclesia nihil salus, which is, apart from the church, there is no salvation. Okay, that's the first part of it. The second part of it is that salvation is the ordinary means of salvation. This was what Trent defined. That baptism is an ordinary means of salvation.
In the Second Vatican Council, didn't they recognize that you can get salvation outside the church? Like if you have never even...
Second Vatican Council taught nothing different than Trent. So let me get there. So these are the two most important, most fundamental doctrines of the church. Two most important about salvation. The first one is there's no salvation outside or apart from the church. The second one is that baptism is the ordinary means for salvation. Okay. There's all sorts of extraordinary means. Extraordinary means of salvation, the ones that we know about, are baptism of desire, which means that the easy definition of that is that you're on your way to be baptized, and you're in a car accident and you die. Your intention was firm that you were going to go to be baptized, but you didn't get the chance because we live in a contingent world, and there's people with driver's license that shouldn't. And so you end up dead before. And so there's what's called dispensatio, or the Eastern Church calls it economy, which is, God takes care of that. God takes care of that because we're acting on good faith. So that's what's important. Then there's also baptism by blood, which is a non-baptized person dies or is killed in odium fidei, that they are killed out of a hatred of the faith. So those are the two that we know about. And then there's this other statement that God can do whatever he wants. As the Catechism of the Catholic Church puts it very well, it says that that salvation is bound to the sacraments, but God is not bound to the sacraments. So God can say whoever he wants. However he wants. However, it only happens through the merits that exist in the church. So let me put it, this might be the best way to put it, is that a Buddhist isn't saved because they're a Buddhist. In fact, they're saved in spite of the fact that they're a Buddhist. So a Buddhist that gets to heaven is saved because of the merits that the church, what the church is, like this is very important to understand what the church is. The church is like a storehouse. And it's a storehouse of grace. its very purpose, its very existence, is for the salvation of the world. That's what the church exists for. It has no other purpose. And so, it's like God said, here's all the grace. It exists within the church. And then, from the church, it extends out in various ways. Some very clear ways, and some very mysterious ways. We don't have it all figured out. So, that's something that you get to learn as you start progressing in studying theology and whatnot, is that there's actually very little that we have figured out. It's only been 2,000 years. So there's only little things that we have figured out. There's a lot of stuff that we just kind of go, we don't know yet. We don't know. That hasn't been revealed to us. Or like, there's no way for us to know for sure about this particular thing. But what we know is that are the words of Christ. That unless you are born again with water of the Spirit, you will not attain eternal life. That I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. These are important things, and we have to take them seriously. So, all right. So it's because of baptism, what baptism does to us. Baptism makes you different. You're no longer simply a human person after you're baptized. Your soul is changed. It's reconfigured. That's the whole point of an indelible mark. Your soul is changed. You no longer have a human soul. You have a baptized human soul. There's only 3 sacraments that do this: baptism, confirmation, and holy orders. Those are the only 3 sacraments that change your soul. And the most important of those is baptism. Because it's the one that grafts you onto the tree. Christ says, I am the vine and you are the branches. How do you become a branch? Through baptism. Larry the Hebrews and St. Paul are constantly talking about this. About how we are grafted onto Christ through baptism. In baptism, we die with Christ and we rise to new life. These aren't hollow words. Words mean something. So this is essential for us to understand about salvation. It's not a legal declaration. This is the premise for everything that we're going to talk about. And it's important because we'll talk about it very specifically in justification. It's something that is done to us from the inside. Not something that is done to us from the outside. Or it's not like imagine being made noble. Imagine this is a king. And the king says, Chris, you are noble. So now you are now the Duke of Utah, right? Okay? So what's happened to you?
A lot more arrogant.
Maybe. Maybe not.
I think that it's title. I suppose I maybe have some more power, but I don't know.
Right, but where is that power vested, though? Does it come from your soul, or is it something that has been given to you by another?
It's passive.
Yeah, it's passive. It's like putting on clothes. It's a legal agreement. The king has now said, you are no longer a peasant. So you now have all these rights and privileges that I am granting you as an external privilege, and I can remove them at any given time. And there's nothing about you that's changed. It's about your relationship to everybody else that's changed, simply. A legal relationship has changed. It's a contract. Salvation is different, though. Salvation takes your soul, what it is, and transforms it. That's why we're made a new creation. Is that literally what God has done in the sacrament of baptism is He has, just as Christ